This is Barbara from PhaseDoc. With the hardware in hand and a simple jig, click and slide assembly is quick and easy. All the small hardware you need is included in the packet that came with your WorkBench PDK. In addition, you'll need superglue and gloves. Okay, let's get started. For easy, precise assembly, first you want to make an L-shaped jig by clamping 2 straight pieces of scrap wood to a table. It's important that the block on the x-axis should be no wider than 2 inches when you're gluing up 2x3 clicks and no wider than 1 inch when you're gluing up 1x3 clicks. Check to make sure the raised mounting bosses on the slide match the hole mounting pattern on the electronics that you want to mount. Then turn the slide over. We're going to insert 4 of the small hex nuts into the back side of the slide bosses. These are the 2.5. And you've got a long screw, a single long screw, that will help give you the leverage that you need to do that. Thread a hex nut just onto the very end and insert it firmly into the hex pocket of the boss until it seats. A light tap with a hammer might be needed. Make sure it's square in the hole, and when it is, go ahead and unthread the screw and repeat for the other 3 bosses. Looking good. This is exactly the way it should look. The next step is to insert the 4 larger hex nuts into the bosses on top of the M2.5. They should lie level with or slightly below the surface. These larger hex nuts fit loosely, and so you really don't need any help with the insertion. They're spacers. They prevent the M2.5 nuts from possibly dropping out of position after the assembly is glued up. Okay, now it's time to place the slide into the jig. Slide it in with the raised mounting bosses down and the hex nuts up and visible. You always glue the assembly with the slide on the bottom, just as shown. Good, now you can see I've got my gloves on. I'm ready to start gluing. It's got super glue, any brand is fine, it doesn't matter. And as you get ready to super glue, pay attention to the top of the click. Notice the spring at the corner and the slit. Those are the 2 corners that you do not want to glue. So there's a particular pattern you want to work around so that you don't end up accidentally immobilizing the spring. You come across, up, across the top, come down, avoiding the corners, go around the outside, and come on back. Now it's time for the real glue up. Forgive me while I concentrate just a little bit on making sure I get this line exactly right. Like we said, around the corners where you're not supposed to glue, where the springs are. Put a little bit of glue in the center so it holds. Now carefully lift it, flip it over, make sure the springs are out and away from the corners of the jig. Set it down on your slide, which you've prepared by putting in the jig. Press both components firmly together into the jig to line up the edges, then press down onto each other to set the glue. Follow the instructions on the glue and hold this position for the proper set time. Now here we are at the electronics. Take your Arduino, in this case, and go ahead and attach it to the slide using the M2.5 screws that we provide. All set. Your electronics are ready to use.